be an examiner on the part three. You're not, your job isn't to identify faults. Your job is to have a look at your pupil and go, where's this pupil's weakness? What are they struggling with as a driver? And how can I then help them be better on whatever that is?
I could have easily turned around and said, oh, well, the signs and road markings tell you. But it was nice to get her to extract that information herself.
And this is why I don't like driving instructor phrases, because they steal the learning from the moment.
Yeah.
Inspire Instructor Training Podcast, where the learning never stops.
Welcome to the Inspire Instructor Training Podcast from the award-winning Inspire Instructor Training. And welcome, Diana, to the podcast.
Oh,
Welcome you. You're on the podcast every week.
I know.
I just like saying welcome a lot during the entrance.
I know. I like how we've turned into the people that shout a lot about winning an award. So, but I was absolutely made up that we did. So
yeah, I think it's just because we're really excited about it. To be honest, I've done the same with my Cowley's one.
I do love. Oh, sorry, go on. I do love that video that I got of you winning the award, which was really nice. I think you should definitely post it. Or have you posted it on socials?
I've posted it already, yeah. It's for me, it's like those videos you do at the Oscars where the camera's already on you.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting if I hadn't won and me like shouting and swearing or something at whoever did stand up. That was genuine shock and surprise because I genuinely didn't think I was going to win that. Like maybe get a placement. So when the other two people weren't me in third and second, I was like, that's fine. I had already resigned myself to turning up and getting drunk and not expecting any awards. It wasn't about the awards. I just wanted to have a good time on the evening. So it was really a surprise and super, super proud. So yeah.
Oh, I was very proud of you. And not that I had anything to do with it, but I was very proud of you. And I don't know, I just had an instinct because you do a lot. And it was nice. It was really nice that you got that recognition.
Yeah.
It was nice that we both did as well.
Yeah. And then we're going to go for the national driving school next year.
Absolutely.
Take the country by storm.
Absolutely.
So actually, well, we've already started talking about what I wanted to talk about first, which was the ADI-NJC and Intelligent Instructor Convention, which was split into 2 days. So there was the meal before with the awards and the what's the guy called? The mind reading guide. I can't remember what they call them.
No idea, but it was very good.
Very good, very entertaining. And so there was the whole evening thing, and then the next day there was several speakers and some stands to go and see, and just a different vibe to the expo. But yeah, how did you find it?
Oh, I loved it. I love the fact that as an industry we all get together and it's just nice to just meet people and chat, and inevitably it went back to driving lessons, but there was just lots of just catching up with people as well, so it was nice to get some pictures, which I finally made a commitment to doing. I didn't get as many as I would like, I never do, but made a conscious effort. Meal was lovely, the entertainment was fantastic, and it's always nice as well just catching up with Rachel from Intelligent Instructor, and I didn't really get a chance to speak to Rich too much, but that was nice, and we had a lovely group of people on our table as well, and yeah, it was just lovely. I got to share it with my husband, so that was also nice because we don't often get to go away together. So yeah, it was all good. And then the conference side of it, I like the way it's laid out. I like the fact that what I like about it, and this isn't to take away from the expo because that has its place as well, because I really enjoy that, and obviously we're exhibiting at the expo. But what I really like about the conference is you don't actually have to pick and choose who you want to see. You are in one room and you you get to see people that you wouldn't necessarily have made a point of going to see. And I think that can be really helpful in a lot of ways, actually, because it opens your minds to things that you might have maybe dismissed. And not from a bad content point of view, maybe from a where you are in your journey point of view. And that's what I mean. So, for example, you might not necessarily go to see somebody that is talking to PDIs if you're not a PDI, for an example. But with the convention, I always get those two mixed up. With the convention, it's nice because you get to hear all of the speakers. And it was quite impactful. I thought Dr. Ian Greenwood was incredibly moving. I thought it was also nice to have the motivational speaker at the end who there wasn't that direct link to driving, but I think that's what made it unique. So I liked that as well. Um, I thought Tom Stenson's little play trick worked out quite well and really got his message across. And there was just lots of really, really great speakers. So it's just nice to be a part of that.
Yeah, I pretty much concur with all of that. I had a great evening. I love the evening bit, and would recommend anybody who is going to that to do the evening as well, because even if you don't know anyone, because I think you'll find your group, you'll find people to talk to and sit with, and I for me that bit's the bit, because you don't get very often in this industry to sit around and chat to fellow ADIs without the, oh, I'm going to miss the speaker, or, oh no, we need to go and do that now. It was just sit, chill, relax, and enjoy each other's company. And I think that was quite a nice, both times we've been to it, I think that's been the vibes, and it's good, plus lots of alcohol, so that was fun.
Lots of good food as well.
Generally, that means that the next day I'm hungover. But I was drinking my water all day the next day. And I really enjoy the fact that you go to, everyone sits down and watches the same presentation, which I think is really quite nice. And you don't, like you say, have to pick and choose. I also agree. I think Tom did a great job. I also enjoyed Kevin Tracy as well, because
Well, yeah.
doing quite a lot with Kevin Tracy at the moment because I'm doing their diploma. And so, yeah, I very much sort of kind of picked up on all that. That was good. Again, Dr. Ian Greenwood was fantastic, and I think we should have more speakers like that at the convention. I think that was my only slight gripe, actually, was I know Terry Cook talked about this as well, because it just felt there could be more of that sort of professors, or that sort of deeper learning, or I think the convention's the place for that, where people are paying to go. You've got a bigger audience per speaker because everyone goes to see the same speaker, and I think there's an opportunity there for the speakers to just not be your normal speakers that you get at the expo. And I think I absolutely have some people like that, but there was some where I was just like, this could have been a higher caliber, like, and this is no disrespect to any of them, because I would say the same if we were up there. I think there could be that next level up person that the professors or the academics that, like, I love listening to that sort of kind of side of our industry that we don't tend to see at the expo. And they probably wouldn't come to the expo because you're not getting the entire audience there. And I think it's an opportunity for that sort of kind of deeper sort of kind of dig into our world, I think. So I would love to see a few more speakers like that. The motivational speaker, I love the fact that with the motivational speaker, they went a bit left field, and it wasn't anybody, like you said, driving. And I think that's actually should be a staple. I think the end person should be not necessarily driving instructor related, but obviously some sort of link. I didn't love him, but it was nice at the end and it was interesting. And I think just because I've heard lots of people like that, and I think there's probably better people, but they probably would have been really expensive. Um, so
I believe you just said.
he
I did like. I know what you mean, though. Yeah, but
was
I did like
good. He
him.
was
I
he
did
was just
like him.
BT, not 18.
He was what? Oh yeah, B team. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, no, no, I don't even think he was B team. I did like him. I found him quite motivational. Um, I think he's maybe 8.1,
Okay.
like
I'll
B
yeah.
team.
It maybe just join the 18.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Love
yeah,
that. It was good.
yeah,
I genuinely I enjoyed it. It was just one of those ones where I've heard other people do similar types of talks, and the people I've heard do similar types of talk are probably the sort of people he goes to watch talks on.
yeah,
That's what I kind of
yeah.
felt.
And I think that's the point, I suppose, because what I thought was really nice was the fact that it was an introduction, if you like, to maybe instructors that haven't necessarily made that connection. And I think sometimes it can just be that stretch too far when it is sort of a necessarily that higher motivational speaker. I liked that he was relatable as well. It was quite nice. He'd gone up, he'd gone down, he'd gone up again, and then he literally went down on that rock. So there was an awful lot of things that you could relate to. I like the trust. We put a lot of trust in our learners. We trust them to look after us, look after our cars, look after. I know obviously we have impact on that, but he had an impact on that with that guy as he was lowering him down. There was a communication piece there, and I just thought it was a nice little link there. I thought
Yeah.
that was
Like I said, I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I thought he was engaging as well.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
good.
I do. It's weird that I remember the girl who he got up, but not his name. I can't remember his name, but I remember Tatiana.
want to say I want to say James.
I want to say James. If I could look it up, but yeah, James. I think it
Let's
was.
go for that. No one, like, who cares? We'll call him James. I'll just carry on being my grumpy self. I feel like I'm being quite grumpy this podcast.
A little bit. Carry on.
The my best decision of the day was to not go and see the DVSA. Um, I
Killing me here, Phil.
I know. I really hope they don't listen. But the not because I think not because other instructors shouldn't go and see the DVSA. I think absolutely. But I have seen the DVSA a lot recently. I saw them at the DIA conference. I saw them at the expo. I read their emails that come out, and I knew that going to that, I think it was just over an hour, or maybe an hour and 20 minutes or so. I I knew I was not going to walk away with anything new because there was nothing new. Nothing new ever happens. So it was just going to be the same old story and the same old questions getting asked and the same old answers being given. And I just felt like if I didn't know those things, I'd have gone. But because I'd heard them all quite recently, there was no point in me going there. And I utilized that time quite well talking to all the people with stands who had no one hovering around them because everyone else was listening to the DVSA. So I had a great time
Genius.
at it. It might have been my
Genius.
favorite part of the convention, actually, wandering
I
around.
actually really wish you'd communicated that to me because I was
I
there.
didn't see you pretty much all day. We sat at opposite sides of the room and
We looked like we'd had a tiff.
just yeah, people would be like, there was rumors going around of Inspire breaking up after their award.
Oh, good.
Right, shall we move on? Now I've been grumpy to talk about positive things and Phil's thoughts. So my thoughts this week, and as always, this generally comes from conversations or um, situations I see on driving lessons that just pop into my mind. And this time I've sort of seen a lot of PDIs talking, and I do get this because it kind of seems to come across that this is what you're supposed to do. But particularly as we get closer to that par 3 test, becoming a bit more fault focused and really sort of kind of like, yeah, becoming quite negative with the way they're delivering lessons. Um, Not in like a bad way, like they're not being negative to their pupils, but the lessons become negative because we're always just being a bit picky and picking up on stuff. And I think there's this sort of kind of misconception that on a part three, you have to almost be like an examiner and pick up on faults and always sort of kind of be like, oh, that, oh, you didn't check that mirror, and really sort of kind of picking up on the faults. And absolutely, you need to adapt the lesson, identify the needs, all of those sort of kind of things. But it can be done in a way that's not fault fixing, but more supporting the person next to you. And so what I kind of mean by that is if you've had a pupil who maybe has missed a mirror check and then shortly after that maybe doesn't spot where they like spot the gap on the roundabout, and then shortly after that is missing the signpost to say that we need to slow down. Now, you could deal with all three of those individually as fixing faults and go, okay, right, why should we check our mirrors? What are the consequences? Da, da, da. Why should we make better decisions on the roundabout? What are the consequences? Why should we make sure we slow down? But actually, that's not supporting your pupil. That's just pointing out all the bad things your pupil's done. What is it that that pupil needs from you? How can we make them a better driver that's going to fix all those things? And we talked about this on our last Zoom, which is like learning from the positives. And this is one of those things. It's like, where's the, no, it wasn't learning from the topic positives, was it? It was skills within topic.
No, it was learning from the positives.
It
But we
was.
did skills within topics for intelligent instructor masterclass.
I think that's where what this one came from, though, is the there's so many things at the moment. So the skills within topics is that element of all three of those are awareness. But like not necessarily, but the person I'm thinking of, they were. And rather than sort of kind of going around identifying faults like an examiner does, what you need to do is identify the need, which is this pupil's not looking enough, whether it's behind or ahead or early enough or spotting things they need to spot. And there's my thing. There's my thing I can help this pupil get better at so that we walk away with this positive message. So I think it's this element of you don't have to go around, you don't have to be an examiner on the part three. You're not, your job isn't to identify faults. Your job is to have a look at your pupil and go, where's this pupil's weakness? What are they struggling with as a driver? And how can I then help them be better at whatever that is? So it's not the physical fault. It's not the moment that happened. That's always the thing you need to talk about. It's the cause behind it, and the cause behind it is nearly always one of the skills. So awareness, planning, anticipation, judgment, and car control. I always hate naming those five. And it generally comes back to one of those skills. And I find if you're or actually, I also sort of add into there, it could be emotions as well. So it could be things like nerves kicking in. But again, if you're coming back to one of those things, you're dealing with the pupil next to you. You're helping them become a better driver rather than the faults that have happened. And so that's the thing I've been telling all my PDIs recently is don't go into that test focused on faults or routes or overly planning it. Just go into the test with the mindset of this is all about that person sat next to me. And how can I help them become a better driver? And if that's in the back of your mind all the way through the test, you're going to naturally adapt the lesson because you're going to recognize that this pupil's struggling and then adapt the lesson to help them. Or you're going to recognize this pupil's flourishing and you're going to adapt the lesson to challenge them. And yeah, make it about the pupil. Like the second you sit in that seat and you go, right, let's go, it's all about them. It's just make it about the pupil.
I'm smiling, but only because I had a pupil today who's going on holiday. tomorrow. And she was like, oh, I'm in holiday mode. And she'd said, oh, I'm so ditzy today. And I said, I'm working with the Jen that showed up today. So I said we all go through a roller coaster of emotions, days, feelings, just things going on. I said, and that's what driving's all about. So when you get in the car on Tuesday, it might be very different to how you get in the car on Saturday. So we're going to come up with a plan for what's today? We're going to come up with a plan with Mondays, Jen. So and it was great actually because we did something completely different to what we were hoping or what she'd planned to do, but it was all anchored to the skills. But so it was much of a muchness really, and interesting though, and this is I think quite important to mention. I will mention things as and when they're popping up if it's like a show need. And because of that, we were nipping things in the little bud. I think the analogy I used were little fires, little mini fires, and we were extinguishing them as we were going along. And towards the end of it, as pupils often do, she focused on the negatives. And when I'd asked her about what she was proud of, she was like, I don't think there's much that I've got to be proud of. And I said, okay, well, let's anchor that back to what our original goal was. And we went through it. And then we listed off everything else that we'd covered. And the goal that she had set herself was not only nailed, but really nailed with success. Do you know what I mean? Like and it was trying to help her understand that was what was good what looked like. And we didn't really need to talk about that as much. We celebrated it in the moment, but we had to celebrate it at the end because throughout it, there was these little mini fires that were being extinguished throughout. And as we were going, I was like, well, we've done this. We did, we looked at left turns, we looked at going wide, we looked at identifying junctions, we looked at reverse bay parking, we looked at anchoring our left mirror secure. Like, there was all these little bits and pieces, but it was all awareness and planning. She was like, my God, we've done loads. I said, yes, we absolutely have done loads. So she came away feeling really empowered by that. But it was interesting that she'd come in holiday mode and she was seeing it as a negative. And I said, no, let's build that as a positive because I'm assuming it's not going to be your last holiday. So it was nice.
Yeah. No, and actually, just to clarify that, I'm not saying we shouldn't be mentioning the errors in their drive because by letting them go, you're potentially letting them develop and become worse. It's just that it doesn't. I suppose sometimes what I see is people have this routine for a fault.
Yeah.
And it's like faults happen, robot me comes in and goes through all the questions that I need to ask. Whereas sometimes it's just need to mention it and then it fixes itself and have a quick conversation about it. Sometimes it needs to be, well, yeah, we need to analyze that and go into it and dig deeper and find out what we can go and work on. And it's maybe sort of kind of working between those. I suppose actually also recognizing that if you are constantly sort of kind of picking up on faults with the pupil, are you doing the right thing? Like, are you in the right place with the right level of support? Because if you are firefighting, probably one of those things is wrong. And you're pushing this pupil a bit too hard with whatever reason. So yeah, it's trying to turn your lessons into that positive environment where you're going to get stuff right, not and that's the goal. And actually pulling over and pointing out that the stuff just went right and we did it well. I always say that when you do that, to put probably a bit of a caveat on the conversation, because when you've pulled a pupil over to sort of kind of celebrate the roundabout going well, if you say to your pupil, talk to me about that roundabout, they will go, oh, what did I do wrong? What was it again? They just jump to the negative and they struggle to find what they did wrong because nothing went wrong.
And all but they can still throw
something. Oh yeah, they'll find something.
They'll make something up. They'll go, was I too fast on approach? Was I in the wrong gear? Yeah.
And you end up having a whole conversation where they're hunting for the thing you're they're trying to find the thing that you're talking about and you're not talking about it. So I always start that with, like, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
Because not every people, because some will tell you, but most of them won't. So you have to kind of go, I thought that was really good. Tell me why. And get them to give you that, like, why did it go well? How did we achieve that? Because I think that's where the learning really happens, not just doing it well, but understanding how they did it well so they can then replicate it.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on to Diana Digs Deeper?
Yeah. I had well, Phil had to prompt me on this one. Because it's hard to think when you're on just constantly just chatting to people. And we had a pupil when Phil was in the Wirral, and he was supporting me with some lovely training with my husband, which was nice. And during this conversation at the end, the pupil had said, I have a question. How about, when these lanes merge, how do you know which lane you have to be in? Because there were some examples where the lane was merging from the right, and there were some examples where up ahead you should be in the right lane. And she was saying, how do you know? How do you know in advance? And I could have answered her, and it was nice because we gave the PDI the opportunity to answer it, and then I had suggested another way of doing it, and I just said to her, "Well, how did you know? What were the clues?" And she said, "Well, I could see that the road markings were coming in, so that helped." And I said, "Right." I said, "And what did that then prompt you to do?" She said, "Well, I looked in my right mirror." But she went, "But how do I know in advance that it's going to be that I should be in the left lane? Because if I was in the right lane, I would have to move over." And I said, okay, so you're looking for the easiest option. Is that right?" And she was like, yes. Well, I said, what clues were there? I said, how did you actually know? And she went, well, there was road markings. I said, was there anything before that? She said, yeah, I think there was some signs. So I said, right, so that's good. I said, so when you see those signs, what are you expecting to happen? And she went, well, it could be from the left or the right. I said, exactly. So how will you work it out? She said, well, I'll look at the road markings when I've seen the sign. I said, yeah, exactly. I said, you're looking for that driving detective moment because you've got that advance warning that something is about to happen. It's now up to you to work out which direction that's going to come in. And she was like, right, I get it now. But there was a moment where she was sort of talking, first of all, this was important. There was at least 3 opportunities where the lane merged. And I'd said to her, which one is it you're talking about specifically? Because it was interesting because I had an idea in my mind and she had an idea in her mind. And I thought I had clarified the one that she'd said. And I think to be fair, I did okay with that. But anyway, it still turns out we were talking about the wrong junction. But what was lovely was she said, but there was the one that pushed me to the right. How would I know about that? I said, the one with the bike lane to the left. And she said, yes. I said, well, what clues were there before that? And she said, there was a cycle lane. I said, what else was on there? She went, oh, there was a solid white line between the cycle lane and the right lane. I said, yep. I said, so which part of that sign was telling you the road ahead was going to be for bikes only? Which direction was it going to be? She went, oh my gosh, the left. I said, so did you have all the information to work that out? She said, yes. So should I have been in the right lane? I said, so let's walk that through for me. When you came up to that junction, what was going on in the right lane? She said, oh, there was about 3 or 4 cars. I said, yeah. How many were in the left lane? She went, 2. I think there was her, somebody in front of her and her. I said, okay. Did all of the people in the right lane go straight ahead? She went, no, I don't think they did actually. I said, therefore, where would have been beneficial for you to be positioned? When you look at those 2 lanes on approach, where would have been beneficial for you to position? And how would you work that out in advance? She said, oh, I'd probably go in the lane that has the least cars. I said, yeah, absolutely. Or alternatively, I think we were talking about the volume of cars. So if there was about 6 or 7 in the left, then it would have made sense to go in the right. I said, what was going on to the right of those cars? She said there was an Aldi there. I said, so what impact would it have had on your ability to go straight ahead if somebody was turning into Aldi? She was like, oh, I wouldn't have been able to get past them. And we linked it back to that awareness and planning. I said, so that one sign then, what should it prompt you to do? She went, well, I need to look up ahead and see which lane is going to be the one that merges. Lovely. What else do you need to look at? Well, I need to look at how many cars are on approach to the 2 lanes and position myself either side of that. I said, and what else? And she said, and I need to work out what direction they're going to go in, because the ones in the right that were turning right would have held her back even longer than just coming in the left lane and then zipping in. And it was nice because then she used that information further on into driving lessons after that lesson. So now when we're coming up to signs, I'll say to her, okay, so what's your thoughts? What's your plan here? She'll say, right, I'm looking at this sign. I'm now looking at the cars. I'm gonna take the lane with the least cars in it. And she said it the other day. She went, where am I going? And I said, you're going straight ahead. She went, I'm going to choose the right lane. And she moved into the right lane because there was about 7 cars on the left and about 3 of them were turning left. And there was but 2 in the right, even though she knew she'd have to merge. It was the path of least resistance. So she was choosing the easiest option. So it was nice to see it go full circle as well. So I hope that people could visualize that. I know you were there, but I could have easily turned around and said, oh, well, the signs and road markings tell you. But it was nice to get her to extract that information herself.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? That what you've done there is taken a non-event question, just a like from her point of view, that question was just something she chucked on the end of the lesson, although it was probably quite clearly important to her because she'd saved it up. And you easily could have told her the answer, or your answer, actually. And learning probably wouldn't have taken place there. Should have gone, oh, I'll remember that for next time. Whereas by digging into it, and this is the whole point of this segment, by digging deeper into it, getting her to analyze it, think it through, play it through as well, she's then walked away with an understanding of how it works, not a knowledge, not a fact, an understanding of it. And I didn't know the end of that story because you hadn't told me that she'd then gone and implemented it. And I think that is just perfect because it shows why we have those conversations, because the next lesson, she has shown a clear understanding of how to do that. And you know what I think the opposite of that is? Left is best.
Yeah.
How many people go around just going left is best, left is best, left is best? No understanding at all.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't like driving instructor phrases, because they steal the learning from the moment rather than that conversation and true understanding. And then a pupil who now is going to have that for the rest of her life. Like that's not something she's trying to remember. She just gets that now.
Yeah.
And that's why that learning sort of works better.
It was interesting because actually at the end of that, there was the point where we were talking about 2 different junctions anyway. And I think that had it just been the one that I'd originally thought of, we would have missed the learning opportunity of the Aldi and, turning around and stuff like that. So I think that was especially nice as well. I'm glad you got to witness it live.
The main part I took from that was that you couldn't let me have a whole section without you jumping in.
I saw that you were floundering, so
like half a second, and you're like, "Can I answer that?" Yeah, whatever.
Half a second, my backside.
Done by then. Well, I was giving Stuart the opportunity to answer the question.
There was a moment where you went, "Oh, good question," and to be fair, you paused, and I went, do you want me to answer it? You went, yes, please. So that's how it actually panned out, Philip Cowley.
I'm sure I would have been fine, but to be honest, it'd been a long day and I was done by then, so I was just
Fair enough.
happy for you to take the lead on
You'd
that.
already showed your brilliance.
Thank you.
I was very, very, very in awe watching you train, so it was nice.
Shall we round this off? And before we do, our next Zoom is on Wednesday, the 9th of April, and that is what is the perfect lesson. So you can come and buy that one separately, or you can join the membership for £20 a month and get that one for free, or £20 a month, along with all the other content that was in there. We added it up the other day, and it was 100 hours worth of content if you joined for £20 a month and 100 hours worth of content. It's ridiculous. Our next one is April, the one after that is April the 23rd, and that is all about influencing behavior. I may have put them the wrong way around, but they are our next two coming up.
We're also on the Intelligent Instructor, talking about I don't know pupils, and I believe that is the 24th of April, which is brilliant.
I feel like that I don't know needs to have the brackets, because it sounded like I don't know pupils.
Oh yes, the
I don't know pupils.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that one. So yeah, that's where we're at, and we look forward to you all joining and coming to listen to us ramble on about those things. Would you like to say goodbye to everyone?
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this podcast. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, please subscribe to the podcast, like our Facebook pages, and we hope that in this session we've inspired you.
Inspire Instructor Training Podcast, where the learning never stops.